Hey everybody, it's Bruce here with Traveling with Bruce. Just got some news here about some refinancing for Royal Caribbean and Norwegian cruise lines. It looks like Germany has come to the rescue for these cruise lines on a limited basis. Thanks for subscribing to my channel, by the way, and you're giving me thumbs ups for these video updates. I really appreciate it. Also, I love your comments. Thank you for joining me on my Facebook group page and following me on Instagram. It's fantastic. All right, here's the latest. This just came through here late Friday, April the 24th, 2020. The country of Germany has made an interesting move here. For the second time in 2 weeks, basically the German Export Credit Agency. I'm not even going to try to pronounce the name of this entity because it's impossible. They have assisted, in the case of Royal Caribbean, they've assisted them now twice on two separate loan holiday repayment arrangements on some of their ships. They've just done the same thing here for Norwegian. In the case of Royal Caribbean, what they've done today is they've signed a deal with the cruise line that in effect allows Royal Caribbean not to pay $250 million in payments to the Export Credit Agency in Germany for a year. In other words, it's a little over $20 million a month. And what they've done is they've helped the company refinance the Quantum of the Seas, Celebrity Eclipse, Celebrity Equinox, Celebrity Solstice, and Celebrity Silhouette. So this is going to save Royal Caribbean having to spend $250 million in cash over the next year to the loans against these ships. In the case of Norwegian, what the same entity has done here, the Export Credit Agency for Germany, is they've helped Norwegian refinance the following ships: the Norwegian Bliss, the Norwegian Breakaway, the Norwegian Encore, the Norwegian Escape, the Norwegian Getaway, and the Norwegian Joy. All of these ships have also been given a 12-month repayment holiday, which will save Norwegian $386 million. That is, over $30 million a month. I mean, that's a lot of money. So these two cruise lines, have now just saved over $616 million in expenses over the next 12 months through a in effect, call it a bailout if you want, but it's in effect a reorganization of credit. Now, why doesn't this happen in the States? Well, it's pretty simple. No cruise line in their right mind would have a cruise ship built in America. One, the cost would be just prohibitively out of this world. Number two, financing is just not as easily available in the U.S. as it is with these nationalized export credit agencies. The one in Germany basically is financing the building of new cruise ships with German cruise ship manufacturing sites, and they're giving the cruise lines and the shipbuilders virtually zero interest rate loans. I mean, interest rates in Europe right now, for example, if you were to lend Germany money for 10 years and bought the German 10-year bond from the government of Germany, they would pay you negative almost 1%. So at the end of 10 years, you'd get you wouldn't even get your 10 grand back. You'd get $9,900 back from Germany because their interest rates are negative interest rates. So the government of Germany, the country of Germany, is running a surplus. The last number I heard a few months back was $260 billion a year in surplus money for the government. They're bringing way more in than they need. And so they're turning around and lending money out at zero rates to encourage business. And cruise lines, are not U.S. corporations. These are foreign flagged companies. They can borrow and do business anywhere they want, and so they get their ships built in Europe. There are shipyards in France, shipyards in Norway, shipyards in Sweden, shipyards in Germany, Italy, and these cruise lines get their work done there. The governments are very open to the business, and they will finance the building out of a ship in such a way that the cruise line doesn't make payments on the vessel until after it's been delivered and is generating income. I mean, this is one of those, it's kind of like buying a car in the United States and in Canada now. Come onto the car lot and pick the car you want. And if you got any kind of a job, no payments for 90 days. Just go and take the darn thing, nothing down. Get out of here. Here are the keys. Go, drive, and in 3 months you can start making payments. Oh, and by the way, the loan is at 0% for 7 or 8 years. I mean, geez, when I was a kid, my dad got a new car every 3 years. Now you can get 8-year loans on a car with no interest. Well, similar things are happening in in Europe over many industries, from planes to trains to ships. And why wouldn't these cruise lines make these deals? So, of course, Royal Caribbean and Norwegian have gone back to the German Export Bank, and of course the German Export Bank is completely and utterly aware of what's going on. They're totally aware of what's happening here. And the two parties had no trouble whatsoever to refinance these ships over a longer time frame and, in effect, defer a year's worth of payments on all of these ships as a basket deal. And this ensures that going forward, that Royal Caribbean and Norwegian, and that would be, of course, Celebrity and all the other lines these guys own and control, will continue to have ships built in Europe, mainly Germany, going forward, which means, of course, tens of thousands of German workers will continue to be employed and paid and won't be on unemployment. This is where countries like Germany and others look long-term, and they look at the big picture, and they don't care that these corporations that own these cruise lines are not German companies. They couldn't care less. They don't care that the ships are even flagged in Panama or in Liberia. They couldn't care less. They don't care that the employees on the ships themselves are not German or French or European. They couldn't care less. What they care about is the fact that these billion-dollar vessels get built in Europe through the European Union. And so you have French workers, German workers, Norwegian workers, Belgian workers, and all the other countries in Europe building components and parts for these massive cruise ships that are then final assembled in the shipyards in Germany. And tens of thousands of European highly skilled employees of these companies building these highly specialized parts and components of these ships are employed and don't have an interruption in their car payments, their mortgage payments, or their taxes to their governments. And for governments, this is good business. This is good politics for these countries. Even though the countries, like I said, the cruise ships are not German, they're not European, and neither are the ships. In America, it is such a political football to support a cruise line, even though 13 million Americans a year take a cruise and they all pay taxes. You still can't back a cruise line in America without paying a political price, because America, unfortunately, is not benefiting from the cruise lines in that they have cruise ships built in the U.S. However, America does benefit from cruise ships sailing in and out of the United States, because a lot of tourists fly into the United States from overseas, Canada, of course, South America, and Europe, to take cruises. And these folks don't just come in the day of the cruise and leave on the day that the cruise is over. If you're flying in from Germany to the United States, you're going to come in 3 days early. You're going to stay another 3 or 4 days afterwards, and you're going to spend all kinds of money in Florida or in California or wherever that cruise ship started and ended its cruising. And a lot of taxes are generated from this business. Now, the Cruise Line International Association keeps trying to tell politicians in Washington, guys, you don't understand. $500 billion of business is conducted inside the United States because of these cruise ships. These cruise ships buy all their meat, booze, vegetables, and everything else from American vendors all over the United States. A lot of the fuel is bought through U.S. fuel suppliers, and the taxes generated by America from cruise lines is astounding. But it just doesn't fly as a political issue because, for whatever reason, the flag on the ship tells the American voter out there the loyalty to the country. And Americans have been hoodwinked into believing that cruise lines don't do anything for their country's economy. So anyway, there you go. So today, Germany stepped up $600+ million of assistance for Royal Caribbean and for Norwegian with the stroke of a pen. It was an absolute no-brainer for them to do it. It's the second time that this has happened to or for Royal Caribbean. I think they benefited about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago for about $300 million more of this type of assistance. And I wouldn't be surprised if Carnival starts to announce similar financing deals with some of their friends in Europe as well, because they have obviously 9 different cruise lines, a number of which are attending to and catering to the European cruisers. Anyway, there you go. There's a little update for you here on a Friday. The latest news: Germany steps up to help cruise lines, and it came out of the news wires very late on a Friday afternoon rather than first thing on a Monday morning. So this announcement just kind of went out nice and quiet like, and I caught it, so now you know. Thanks for joining me today. Stay warm, stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll talk to you next time, everybody. Bye for now.